I actually wished that he was the romantic interest. And the first thing we learned about the serial is that like so many of you, I have ended up on the book talk side of TikTok. I honestly thought was impossible. I used to be a huge reader as a kid, and I would literally spend until like 3 a.m. reading, diving into different series as a kid, like the Warrior series and Hunger Games and all of the things that were out when I was a kid. But you know, once I hit middle school, I would say, shit just hit the fan. My love for reading just absolutely disappeared because of the absolute demanding work that I was doing in middle school. I think 8th grade was the hardest year of school, literally from like elementary school to college, that I've ever had. And so that was about the point where I lost interest in reading. But TikTok has brought me back to life. And this is one of the first books that I read to get back my love of reading. I was sucked into this series due to its popularity, but also due to the little pieces of the plot that I heard about that just had me hooked before I even read it. So currently I'm actually on the 3rd book of this series, but you know what? I wanted to give my little bit of input into the characters of this book because the characters are really what make A Court of Thorns and Roses so worthwhile. I feel like I got so excited that I just pushed myself forward into the camera. Sorry I have my face all in your face. So today I'll be ranking all of the characters in ACOTAR, the first book, not the rest of them, from worst to best. So without further ado, let's get to it. Number 10 is Amarantha. Is this surprising at all? Amarantha is the absolute chaotic evil antagonist. There is no redeeming qualities in this bitch. Obviously she's gonna be number 10 because it's not even like she's a love to hate her kind of character. She's just straight up here to wreak havoc. I swear, like, she probably kills puppies in her free time. That's just how awful that she is. She brings gore and horror to the book. Obviously, those are the things that bring thrill to the book, but she just makes me cringe. So Amarantha deceived the Fae population for 50 years, and that's how she found her way, or forced her way, to become the leader of Under the Mountain, which is supposed to be a representation of the horrors that are said to happen in the Court of Nightmares in the Night Court. So she literally here is just to fuck shit up. Like, she created a kingdom. It's not even really a kingdom, but a kingdom, a court that is purely based on terrifying people and beating people. It's supposed to be basically a representation of hell, and she is Satan. She doesn't actually represent Satan, but that's kind of how I see her. But it's not just the fact that she's straight up evil and has no redeeming qualities. That's not the only thing that puts her at number 10 for me. It's also the fact that when Feyre saw her, the funniest thing is that she wasn't even hot. I feel like all of the characters in this book kind of have these really attractive qualities that make them even more not elven, but like just fae, like these immortal features. Like, many of them glow and their eyes become more vibrant and their hair is luscious. And the thing is, when Feyre as a human like sees this fae leader, she's just like, oh, she's like a 5 out of 10, which is so fucking funny. But she's not even this hot evil character. She's just a mid character that has terrified everyone. And finally, I still have a gripe about the riddle. We're not gonna get into the riddle, but basically I didn't like it. And here's the thing, people are split on the riddle. They really are. Some people thought that it was the hardest thing. I'm in the other category where I was like, is it no, that would be way too easy. Like, that would be no. So I spent the rest of the book wondering what this riddle could possibly be. and it was the thing that I thought it was going to be. And the reason I bring the riddle up is because I don't even think Amarantha is clever. I don't even think she's that clever. She's creative with the ways that she likes to torture people, but I don't think she is necessarily a clever person or like a clever evil character. So that's my 2 cents. Number 9 is Nesta. Sarah J. Maas writes Nesta like she just wants you to hate her. Wants you to hate her so bad. Nesta is extraordinarily selfish and rude, and it makes me so mad because as an older sister, I want to protect the hell out of my younger sister, but Nesta is the worst older sister. I'm getting heated. Nesta is Feyre's older sister, one of 2 older sisters. The other one is Elaine. And Nesta is sassy and claps back, but has no right to. When Feyre and her family is starving, Nesta doesn't do anything to help their family. It really feels like she wouldn't care if her family starves or not. And I know that's not the case because she does love Elaine. That's really the only family member that she actually gives a little bit of like a mind to. Like she only really cares about Elaine. But the only thing that she did in the book is that once Feyre got them a little bit of money, she like decided to chop wood. I don't care if you decided to chop wood. I care if you are putting all of your effort into trying to feed your starving family. Feyre's life just couldn't get any worse in the beginning, and she just made it worse. Like she just made Feyre miserable. So to be fair, there really wasn't all that much on Nesta in this book, but in the first book, who doesn't hate her? Really, like who doesn't hate her? That's why she's number 9. I just think she is such a rude, condescending character. Number 8 is Elaine. We also don't see a lot of Elaine, Feyre's older sister, in book 1, but even still, I don't necessarily like her. Now, she doesn't have the rude and biting qualities of Nesta. However, she does kind of come off as an airhead, spends her time doting over her father. So she's a good daughter, I guess, but she also doesn't help Feyre, who is literally spending her mornings and nights trying to feed her family. All she does is she sits and stares at her father. She's not really capable of anything else, and we do learn that this is because they grew up in high society and so they're educated and they didn't learn any survival tactics, but you can learn. You can learn. Number 7 is Isaac Hale. Isaac Hale is just there. He just exists. He's just a man. He's just a guy. Isaac Hale is the initial lover of Feyre. They really just are there to be each other's companion. They don't love each other. He is just the average Joe. Doesn't really spark life into Feyre. I don't hate him. He's just so neutral. He's just so neutral, and he's really just there to show where Feyre is currently at in life, which has a very average, mid-subpar actually, love life. Again, you can't hate him. Again, I had to put him in this list because he is in fact a character in this book, but it's just so neutral. I don't hate him. I don't love him. Isaac Hale just is. He just exists. Number 6 is the Surreal. Now, we're getting into the good shit. We're getting into the characters that I like. And I know that the Surreal is 6, and I wish I could put the Surreal up higher, but there are just so many characters to go through. And in book 1, we also don't see a lot from the Surreal. So these are my initial thoughts about the Surreal. So the Surreal is an immortal character, a creature, if you will, that is older than Prythian, the world itself. And it holds vast amount of knowledge. And Feyre captures it to learn a bit more about Tamlin, about the blight. And the first thing we learn about the Suriel is that it loves to spill the tea. The Suriel loves drama. The Suriel loves talking about people in Feyre's life and giving all of the gossip. I think the Suriel and I would be besties if it wasn't this like horrifying, skeletal, ugly looking creature. As far as I remember, the Suriel only shows up in chapter 14 of the first book of A Court of Thorns and Roses. But you really see that although Feyre went out of her way to capture it and put it in a dangerous situation, the Suriel really actually had her best interest in mind. This is where like stick with the High Lord, stay with the High Lord comes in. The Suriel is just a full-on like truth teller, but ultimately the Suriel is one of the reasons why Feyre doesn't absolutely get obliterated in this book. And I can't say much, but the Suriel just comes in clutch in the other books. And that's all I can say about the other books, but I am a Suriel fan. But let's get to the other characters. Number 5 is Alice. Alice is a servant slash maid in Tamlin's court, and she is really there to be a friend to Feyre. She is what I almost imagine to be a like wood nymph. Her appearance is described to be like bark skin, and so I imagine her like tree-like with like hair that branches out. She overall is just a really great character. It's really hard not to love Alice. She is very loyal to Feyre, she's loyal to her court, but she's really there to protect her family. My whole belief as to why I think Alice exists is to show Feyre, Fae and humans have a lot more in common than what she thinks. And she's really there to help guide her on her journey. All Alice wants to do is to protect her loved ones and have peace. That's really it. She's so like a human, even though she is a fae. Like she just shows the humanity, even though it's not humanity because they're not humans, but like that kind of side of the Fae, where when Feyre is just surrounded by violence and aggression, Alice is there to provide Feyre some peace when she's trying to figure out everything that's going on in the first book. And like she's got her back, and she's ultimately one of the biggest reasons why Feyre begins to trust the Fae. Number 4 is Rhysand. Rhys is a very complicated character in the first book. He is a character where you love to hate him and you hate to love him. He, at first, is just violent. Hello, Lunchbox. It seems he's also just as evil as Amarantha, but through the book, you find that, strangely enough, he's protecting Feyre for some strange reason. I will say, I really hated him at first. Let me back up. When Feyre first saw him, I was like, okay, so he's the hottest thing that she's ever seen. This is gonna go somewhere. And then after that, he just up and disappeared until several chapters later. I was like, where did he go? But yes, I did initially hate him because how he just tortured Feyre. Like her while like digging through her mind and stuff, but also emotionally, like scared the shit out of her. I think the worst thing is when he paraded Feyre around under the mountain like she was just his little consort, and I thought that was really nasty. I don't know, making her dance in front of him, sit on his lap, and I thought that was really nasty of him. Like, it was really hard to like him afterwards, but you did see that there were redeeming qualities of him, and this is what makes him so complicated of a character. The way that he actually switches on a dime, and you don't really understand that, like, why that is in the first book. So at one point, he could just be vile to Feyre and everyone in her life. And then another time, he is saving her. This is what makes him so interesting. And what I realized, the reason I love his character is that Rysand is so calculated. He is so calculated in every move that he makes. And even if he stayed evil, that's a reason why I would love his character. Obviously, he doesn't stay evil. He helps her through the trials, but again, like, he thinks through every step that he takes. Not to mention, he's like the most attractive character in the book with his like dark hair and purple eyes. Oh my god, literally, I am so glad that he has purple eyes, because I feel in so many books, it's either these like deep black eyes or icy blue eyes, and I needed something different, and purple, like violet eyes, that is it. That is all I needed. But when I was reading the first book, I was thinking of Rysand as Ben Barnes. I don't know if y'all know who Ben Barnes is, but if you watched Shadow and Bone, he plays one of the characters he plays the antagonist. I know, I love Ben Barnes, I do. I feel like that's a really specific actor, but I love Ben Barnes, and I don't think now he could play Rysand. I think I see Rysand as younger, and he is younger. He's supposed to be younger than Ben Barnes. And by that, I mean he looks younger. I know he's like hundreds of years old or something, but I don't know who could play him now, but if you'll have any ideas or like cast who you would cast him to be, put it down below, because I need an idea. I have the like AI photo I'm gonna put like up here of what I see him as now, but who looks like that? I don't know. I don't know an actor that looks like that. Number 3 is Tamlin. No, he is not in first or second, but he is a really, really great character for the majority of the book. He is kind and gentle and gives Feyre the peace that she's been looking for. And you know, at first he terrified her, but gave her the option to improve her life. You know, without him, her family would still be starving, and you do have to give him credit for that. His whole appearance is very elven, and I think it's so cool. I love imagining his like luscious long blonde hair, the gold, the green. He really gives leader. So I do think he is incredibly attractive. He cares for her family across the border and also supports Feyre's interests. Tamlin was the reason why she got back into painting. He supplied her with everything she could need and a room to paint in. In the first book, I definitely feel like they created him to be this, I don't want to say flawless, but near flawless romantic character, love interest. And he still has things going on inside. Like he never thought he would find himself in this leadership position as a High Lord. But it's hard to find flaws in Tamlin in the first book. However, in the end is where I got frustrated, and that was where he didn't do anything under the mountain, and I think that was his own strategy, but I just didn't like it. It seemed like he was totally hands-off when there were other characters that we're gonna get to, but for example, like Rysand, working his ass off to save Feyre. And what was he doing? Sitting nice and pretty right next to Amarantha, not doing shit. But he is number 3 because he all around is just this like very loving character. I honestly, I'm a huge fan of the Spring Court. I love the Spring Court. He cares for his people and he is a very good leader. Number 2 is Lucien, or Lucien, however you want to pronounce it. In my head, I say Lucien, but I imagine it's Lucien. Lucien is my personal favorite character. I actually wished that he was the romantic interest in this book when I was reading it. He is sassy and not initially trusting of Feyre. He is the like second hand to Tamlin. I loved him because he was just passionate and driven and extremely loyal to Tamlin, and through Tamlin, loyal to Feyre. And he would risk his life for the people. I mean, he did risk his life for the people that he loves. He almost got killed to save Feyre from Amarantha under the mountain. He would come visit her even though that could totally get him killed. And even though they have these tiffs, I love the tiffs. I love the bickering and I love the nagging and the poking, and I do. This is just, I love Lucien and his personality. I thought that he was gonna be the love interest. Honestly, if I was in the book, he would have been my love interest. I mean, he's sassy, he's witty, and he just became Feyre's like really good friend. Yeah, I think there's nothing to hate about Lucien. There isn't. He comes from a god-awful background, and yet he perseveres and like is still a loving character. He never lost that after all of the abuse that he's been through. And number 1 is Feyre. Why wouldn't it be Feyre? Feyre is a badass, and she is restrained by her humanness in this Fey world. She is clever and passionate and loyal, protective, and still has this soft feminine side to her. But she has this like blend of masculine and feminine, which I think is really cool. She's still badass whether she's wearing fighting gear or she is in a dress. Like she can master both. Her reasoning for living at this point is for her family. She wants to get back to her sisters and protect them like she promised her mom. But it was in the trials where I really fell in love with Feyre. She went through hell and back. I think it would be near impossible to survive what she went through. Of course, she did have help and was healed. Man, I don't know. I don't think I would have gone through what she went through. Plus, you can relate to Feyre because it is in first person. You can feel all of the pain that she is going through. I can imagine laying on the cold stone floor, sticky with like blood and sweat and mud and in complete pain. And the way that she does the trials is so smart. I mean, this girl can't read and she managed to, find ways through, obviously with the help of her friends. But if she wasn't so smart, for example, with the worm under the mountain and that trial, the fact that she used old bones to climb up and stab the worm to survive, that thing would have just eaten me alive. It would have just eaten me alive. And reading the trials gave me so much adrenaline, and I think that adrenaline like stuck me to Feyre. All I want is for Feyre to be happy and live her best life. She obviously is the main character, and she continues throughout the books, but her growth in this first book was incredible to see. That her journey was so cool to read about. So that is my completed list of all of the ranked characters in A Court of Thorns and Roses. What did y'all think? Did y'all know that Lucien was gonna be number 2? Because Lucien has my heart in book 1. I want to marry Lucien. Yes. I honestly, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think the Suriel is even past Alice. Like, I love Alice, but I freaking love love the surreal, man. Like, I think the surreal is more up there than I thought it was going to be now that I'm passionate about like talking about the surreal. So yeah, I'm officially now on A Court of Wings and Ruin, and that's a long ass book. It's gonna take me a long time to finish it. But if you like this video, maybe we can do a part 2. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope y'all did too. Thank y'all for watching. If you want to see more fantasy content from me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye guys.